Hi there, welcome back to the Finley Formation. This is Brandon.
This is Gage,
And this is Jared.
and we're continuing on with our team history and offseason review. Today we're on Seahawks at pick 18. They were founded in 1976. Their all-time record is 402, 373-1. They had one Super Bowl where they murdered Denver 43-8 in 2013. Then the iconic Super Bowl loss, just passing it instead of giving it to Marshawn. Their all-time passing leader is Russell Wilson with 37,059 yards and 292 touchdowns. Their all-time rusher is Sean Alexander with 9,429 yards and 100 touchdowns. Their all-time receiver is Steve Largent. He received for 13,089 yards and 100 touchdowns. Their all-time scorer is Norm Johnson. Their winningest coach is Pete Carroll at 137-89-1. They've been to the playoffs 20 times, which we decided was a little bit above average.
Yep.
For the teams we've done so
Out
far.
of 55 years, you said?
50.
50 years? Yeah, that's
So 40%. Yeah. Their retired numbers is, of course, number 12 for the fans. Kenny Easley, number 45. Walter Jones, number 71. Number 80 for Steve Largent. And then number 96 for Cortez Kennedy. And the last four of those were, or all their retired numbers for players are in our Hall of Fame players. Then their Ring of Honor has Steve Largent, Jim Sorn, Dave Brown, Pete Gross, Kurt Warner with the C, Jacob Green, Dave Krieg, Chuck Knox, Matt Hasselbeck, and Mike Holmgreen. Then their Hall of Famers that weren't with retired numbers was Steve Hutchinson. Then their other notable players is Marshawn Lynch, Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, and Bobby Wax. Of course, those last three, Legion of Boom, Jamal Adams, and Dwayne Brown.
Right, and I think like we were talking earlier, you mentioned that Bennett.
Michael Bennett.
Yeah. And I think it's crazy that like Earl Thomas doesn't get more recognition for what a great safety he was, man. That dude. I think wasn't he in the Niners could have picked him, or they could have picked that
It was that USC Taylor,
yeah,
something Taylor, because he was a bigger bodied safety, and they ended up going with the USC guy. That is cool. That's a good little history bit right there. I remember that.
And yeah, imagine what could have been, because I think that guy spent like 3 seasons with us, and he never really panned out. He only had like 1 or 2 really good plays, but
yeah, I still think my favorite guy from that is Cam Chancellor, just because he was such a big hitter.
Right.
I mean, they all were. That's why they're the Legion of Boom, because they all could hit. But yeah, my favorite then was Cam Chancellor. Yeah. And Earl Thomas, man, he just played for 3 teams after Seattle? Remember him on the Ravens at one point?
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so he played for a long time after. And then Bobby Wags is still going. And Cam Chancellor just kind of fell off the face of the planet after Legion of Boom fell apart.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like we were talking, it's surprising that their history just kind of faded away, and after that shocking Super Bowl loss that they had in the bag, you hand the ball off on the 1-yard line to Marshawn Lynch. I mean,
if they hand that off, then my autogram argument for GOAT is just so much more true, because Brady only has 6.
Is there like a bigger what if in like history? Do you think like if Seattle potentially hands the ball off and wins that Super Bowl, like I can almost see them going on like another 1 or 2 year run. But I mean, we were talking, it's just they kind of disappeared after that with how young they were. It wasn't like they were an aging group where they had a whole bunch of retirees. Chancellor, I think, had a history of like neck injuries, and his career got kind of short. But I mean, we mentioned Russell Wilson was still young, Marshawn Lynch was still young, Lockett was still young. Richard Sherman played in the league for another 5+ years, probably.
5 years.
Yeah.
Thomas played in another league for 5+ years, and it was just like, man, I don't know. To me, that might be one of the biggest what ifs.
Yeah,
because I could see them
agree,
continuing on that. They could have won potentially 3 in a row, 4 in a row. I don't know.
Yeah, I like your what if, but I also, like I said, autogram GOAT.
Oh, he's been on this autogram kick. They included all those historic, like 1930s championships.
1930s. He didn't play in the 1930s. He was drafted in 45. Okay,
he's not that dude. No.
7 championships.
Like
played both sides of the ball
league,
for the first 2. Played DB and quarterback for the first 2.
Yeah.
Greatest athlete of all time. Greatest football player of all time.
Good, but that is ridiculous.
Autogram is the GOAT.
No. So anyway,
Greatest plumber of all time.
back to reality. So the Seahawks. I agree. It was like as a Niners fan, you watch this team just dominate year after year. I don't even know. I think maybe the Rams had a couple of good seasons in there, but I think it was like Seahawks. Pretty much dominated. Niners gave them some fits when we had Jim Harbaugh. But
Could you imagine if it was?
It was just the Seahawks, and even if we beat them during the season, they got us during the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, I just remember that Richard Sherman, Michael Crabtree in the back of the end zone.
Yep.
Richard Sherman skied up, got his left hand water down.
Yeah, he had that famous interview afterwards with Aaron Andrews saying, "This is what happens when you try me with a sorry ass receiver like Crabtree."
Yeah. And everybody went after Sherman, and I did too. But at the same time, I mean, Crabtree was the one who, really kind of got the attitude. Which, hell, he got, defended by Sherman all season long for years and years. And that defense was tough, man. They were so good, and and they did kind of fall off. They kind of lost all their prestige. They got rid of Wilson, traded him up, and then obviously he hasn't played nearly as well. So either it was a great idea, they saw that coming, or
Geno at 32 years old came in and outplayed Russell by far.
Yep.
Yeah, he's had a really good couple of years there.
Yeah. So I don't know. It kind of makes you think if maybe it's the system they got going on over in Seattle. Maybe number 12 is just that good that they just win.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know. I know that getting rid of Geno was a bad thing. I think. I don't know. I mean, they kind of upgraded in one way with Darnold. I think that Geno had more yards. He was fourth in passing yards, but he only had 21 touchdowns and 15 interceptions.
I think
where Darnold was just right behind him in yards at fifth, but he had 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. So,
but the thing is, and I know there's a huge debate over whether Darnold was that good or he got carried by a system and receivers. But I don't care who you are. The reason they have so much success over there is Tyler Lockett and DK. Now DK's gone and Tyler Lockett
is gone as well.
Yeah. So they lost both their wide receivers. I mean, they still have JSN, who's the dog.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they lost two of their wide receivers.
He's going into his third season now?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so they still got young him. I think the only reason I somewhat like the Sam Darnold over Geno Smith is age. Because Geno Smith has been in the league for so long and just nobody knew about him.
Right. But Geno, I mean, I think he was ahead in the league passing for like the first 10 or 11 weeks. And didn't it seem like both him and Darnold kind of hit the skids about the same time? And that's when Darnold started kind of playing crappy. It made, seem like he had a few bad games there in the last, especially like 3 weeks. Geno kind of went downhill a little bit, started throwing all those interceptions. So it's like, I don't know where they're going to come out on this season. I know that Darnold did not play well in the playoff game. And it's either he didn't play well at all or that Rams defense was just that good, or both. So I don't know. It's hard to see coming out of that season who's going to be who got the better deal here. I do agree with you on age, though. I mean, Sam Darnold is younger, but both of them were basically career backups.
Also Geno is more mobile. I do like Geno for that. Yep. But I really hope what they're going for here is a Jackson Dart or a second and third round quarterback that can learn from. Even though he is a career backup, he's still a veteran at this point in Sam Darnold. And maybe they're just like, I want a guy who is going to play solid for like 2 or 3 years with a third-round quarterback behind him and just try and develop a guy behind him, or, he ends up sucking, then they can sub him in.
Yeah, that makes sense, because it's not they're not taking a huge investment on Sam Darnold because it's like a 3-year, $100 million contract. So it's like a Geno Smith contract. You're just kind of paying for like the now. Like you said, I can definitely see them drafting a quarterback maybe to sit for a year or two, kind of get that money off to see what you have with Sam Darnold too, because I'm with you, Brandon. You just don't know. You don't know what you got with Sam Darnold and his he only lost to 2 teams last year. I guess the Minnesota Vikings only lost to 2 teams last year. It was Detroit and LA. They lost to him both. The Vikings lost to him twice. But now you're in the division with the Los Angeles Rams, who you lost to twice and looked really, really bad against. So now you're in a division where...
And you have a worse offensive line.
Right. Yeah. And not as good as weapons. And probably not as good as running game. I don't know how you feel about Kenneth Walker, but... Yeah, I think you're kind of going in a worse situation. Probably with worse coaching, too, because everything you hear, Kevin O'Connell's one of the better offensive coaches in the league, and now you're going to Clint Kubiak, who got fired from the Texans after 2 years. Now he's your offensive coordinator. So
and they got a defensive minded head coach, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh man, I had a train of thought going, and now it's gone.
Yeah, no, and just while you try to regain that, I was just looking that up earlier. I was kind of surprised to see that they were the Seahawks were 14th in total offense and 14th in total defense.
Yeah,
they were just like right straight middle of the pack on pretty much on both sides of the ball, and I think that has to do with their running game because they were 8th in passing, and as a team, because I think that's after they do the team yards and all that after they do all the sack. Right after they take away all the sack yardage, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think they obviously got sacked a lot. And then also, I don't think they have a very good run game. And to match up with that passing game they had last season.
Which it's still, with this team, it all just comes down to the O-line. I mean, they got K9 back there, Kenneth Walker. He's a good back. I think if you have a good O-line there, I think they have a perfect run game. Well, not perfect, but a pretty good run game and a pretty good passing game. Like you said, 8th in passing. If you have good line there and Geno's not on his back every other play,
right,
then they're looking way better. So, yeah, I mean, they just really need to build up an O-line for him and maybe get another target in now that they don't have DK.
Oh, yeah, they're going to I think wide receiver is probably number 2 on their needs list.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, obviously their biggest thing during free agency in the offseason so far was the trade, I feel like, and then the signing of Darnold, which it feels like those two kind of went hand in hand to me. After that, I'm not really sure. I mean, like, releasing Lockett was surprising to me. I don't think that guy would have cost them that much money to keep around.
No,
and he's been such a staple.
Right.
And the guys they brought in to replace him and Metcalf were just crazy. It's like they got Scanling, and I'm not a big fan of his. I think he does okay. They got River Craycraft, Steve Sims. Those guys aren't gonna,
Cooper Kupp, man. They got Cooper Kupp.
Oh, they did bring in.
They did bring in Cooper Kupp.
Right,
I like the Scatling coming in for Tyler Lockett just because he's a little bit younger. I don't think he's a whole lot younger, but he's a little bit younger, and he's still been a pretty decent slot guy his whole career. He's got some speed. I mean, really just, I agree, mediocre replacements, but they really think Tyler's going to lose a step, that maybe Scatling would be a good replacement for him.
Yeah.
Well, Kupp's kind of an unknown, too, because he spent, most of his last couple of years on the IR, I think.
I think he's missed a lot of games each season since his Triple Crown in 21.
Yep.
He just brings a different skill set than what DK Metcalf brought. He's just a different type of receiver. So that'll be interesting.
A smaller guy who can run around versus a guy who just pushes people around, gets in fights. I mean,
maybe that's just the evolution that Mike McDonald wanted for his offense as being a defensive coordinator type of guy. The word was kind of out that him and Geno really, he wasn't maybe a Geno fan, and that was the whole reason they got rid of him. I don't know, but you're replacing him with a guy that's almost like a Geno type, just not as athletic.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. He's like a duplicate of Geno,
right?
But not to bring race into it, but it's literally just a white Geno.
Yeah,
Geno.
And like I said, I mean, their contracts are almost identical that they had, so you're not like upgrading as far as contract. The only thing we talked about is you're getting younger.
Yep.
So the offense, I don't see that changing too much. I mean, I know they had that offensive coordinator from Washington University last year. He was a first-year offensive coordinator in the NFL. Can't remember his name, but Clint Kubiak, like I said, only lasted 2 years with the Houston Texans, and then he's kind of a Shanahan guy. So,
and I think a huge part there too with him getting fired. I actually like his offense. I think they're just another team that sucks with O-line. So unless they really beef up this O-line, he's just going to be 1-2 year guy again.
Maybe they brought him in because they're like, this guy is used to running an offense with a shitty O-line. So let's bring him to Seattle. See what he can do with us.
Yeah, we'll just stay with Charles Cross as our only halfway decent offensive lineman, and he'll make it work.
Yeah, it didn't look like. I mean, after the and Kupp, but then another one was DeMarcus Lawrence as an edge rusher. That's kind of interesting because I know that I think he's been kind of down. He's getting older.
Yeah.
But if he can get him a few, get him 9-10 sacks on the season, make a little bit of a difference, that's going to be a big pickup.
Yeah, that's definitely like I think at his age, a guy you bring in on second or third down, I don't know if I'd really ever have him in on first down. But if you hit a second long or third and 8, something like that, where it's almost guaranteed passing down, I throw him in.
Yeah. See if he can give you a little bit. Yeah, he's not going to be able to play. He's not every down. I agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah, just looking at their defensive depth chart going into next year, you mentioned it, Brandon. DeMarcus Lawrence is the only addition. Everybody else is coming back. I really like their D line with Leonard Williams and Jaron Reed, and then they got Byron Murphy too as a nose tackle. So those three with DeMarcus Lawrence coming off the edge, I think it's going to be a pretty good combo. You kind of saw towards the back half of the season that defense kind of took shape. I think they kind of got used to McDonald's defensive structure and how he likes to call things, how he did it in Baltimore. I like the second go around of the first time that the Niners played him. I mean, that's kind of my reference, but they kind of did whatever they wanted in that first game. And then towards the end of the year when they played him again, that offense struggled against Seattle in that defense. And it was just like, oh, maybe they're starting to figure it out. Yeah. So he's bringing everybody back. There's no real huge names. Leonard Williams was a big name that they got last year from the Giants. But everybody else is just, I mean.
They're bringing in depth pieces.
They
and
are,
stuff.
yeah.
I think they're really hoping for a big splash in the draft. Because I think if they don't have a big splash in the draft, they're looking at pick 18 again.
Yeah.
I don't think they've done any big moves that are going to jump them.
Right.
But other than losing DK, I don't think they really did anything that's going to hurt him either.
Right. And, so it's still kind of questionable offense. You don't know what you're going to get there, but the defense should be solid.
Yeah.
I agree. They could end up probably in the right 17, 18 range again. I agree with that. And so speaking of the draft, I honestly, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but it's O-line. I think they need to find starters, and it's mostly the interior of this O-line is where I've researched and seen that they need starters. They need probably 2 guys to go in there and compete, probably even start, maybe even 3.
I like the idea of replacing both their guards. I know their center is also not very good. Like, that whole interior is pretty bad, but I feel like your guards make a little bit of a bigger difference because your center, most teams run a 4 down. So your center is more on just a double team guy and get upfield. So, yeah, I think definitely both guards need replaced.
So, unfortunately, I don't think the first round is where you're going to want to pick up an interior lineman.
And that's where I like Nick Nash.
But really, I don't think you need to pick him in the first round.
Hey, but I mean,
I do have some picks, and we'll talk about them real quick. And they've got 5 picks in the first 3 rounds, 10 altogether, and so they've got room to, they've got some picks to make some, I guess, get some starters in there. But in the first round,
some splashes.
I would probably say if you're going to go O-line, you want that Josh Simmons out of OSU. He's going to fall down to them probably. I think that he's going to be in around that range. And he's a tackle, but he also can move. You get him in there, and he's good enough where you might have to move guys inside too. And so I think that he could be a little versatile. But if they're not, if somebody like him doesn't fall, there's other tackles. But then I think it's wide receiver. That's their second biggest need. I know Kupp's there, but you don't know about him. And Smith and Jigma need some help. So this is where me and Gage talked about Luther Burden a little bit. I think it was
from
Missouri. I think there's a chance he could be there, or Matthew Golden could be there from Texas.
Do they have just their own pick in the second round? You looked up draft picks. How many they have?
They have 2 picks in the second round. They have they have the second round. They have 80 or 50 and 52.
50 and 52. So
that's where I would go interior line.
Yeah, definitely. But I still. Probably going to be a real hot take, but I'd probably take Nick Nash over Luther Burden, even though he's not projected that high.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The only reason I keep mentioning Luther Burden is just because he's definitely going to get taken higher. But I don't know if he'd fall to him, and I really like him on this team, even though they lost a lot of speed and physicality with DK being gone. I think if they're going for that type of play style where they sign Cooper Kupp, and that's the type of offense they want to run, I think Nick Nash fits perfectly for that.
Right, I just think he's going to probably be there in the 4th round. I don't even think they're going to.
You think he's falling to 4th?
I do. I don't think that he's very high on a lot of boards.
I think some team's going to see what he's got and pick him up second, maybe early 3rd, but I bet he's middle second to early 3rd.
It seems like he's a lot more of a fan pick. Like fans really like him, but like it does every draft board that I see. The latest one I looked at, he was like, God, I think they had Isaiah Neyor above him.
Oh, really?
And I mean, I'm going, wow, really?
Hmm.
So he was like the 258th guy.
Some GM has to be looking at this and going, Mountain West MVP. Mountain West is producing talent now,
Yeah.
and they're having success in the league. We can't just say they have no competition,
Right.
especially since I've seen some super crazy take. Not on the same page, but I've seen somebody say that teams should be looking at picking up the NDSU quarterback in the first round again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Remember how that worked with Trey Lance? Oh, 2 natties. So did Trey Lance. Where'd that go?
Right. Now I think he was busted into the Canadian League and then went back to San Diego, or not San Diego, but LA Chargers.
Is that where he's at now?
I think that Jim picked him up there. I think. But other than that, he was in the Canadian League. He got signed up there. So.
Yeah. FCS just.
Yep.
Okay, so who do you like for them in the first round?
I was gonna, before we even started, I was looking at interior offensive line. Just going back to their depth chart. So their starting offensive line, they have Charles Cross, which Gage has mentioned quite a bit. He was a first-round pick, but after that, it's a 6th-round pick, 5th-round pick, 4th-round pick, 3rd-round pick. So it's kind of showing that they've tried to develop these guys that they've gotten later in the draft. It's just not working out. So I think they have to get somebody on the interior. Tackle is going to be of the big ones that are going to go off the board early. You got Will Campbell from LSU is going to go early. Membu is going to go early from Missouri. Kelvin Banks from Texas is probably going to go before their pick. So if you're just looking at pure interior guys, that guard from Alabama, that Booker, is an interior guy.
That's who I was just looking at. Yeah, he's 6'5", 321 pounds.
He's kind
of
a
bigger
more
guy.
of a project-y. Kind of everything that I've read, he's kind of a project-y, but his his ceiling is pretty high. So if you can get him in the right situation with the right coaching, and then that if they're looking for center guard combination, that North Dakota State center, Grace Abel,
Yeah,
he could probably be around there. You might want to take a shot at him before somebody scoops him up because he's number one rated center. So
that's what's I agree with you 100% because that's what's bad between 18 and 50 is that's where probably those top guards are going to go, and that's what that's what's tough. So I could definitely see him maybe coming down and getting our.
You kind of see that in the draft sometimes. Once a team picks a position that nobody else is expecting, and then I think you start seeing teams panic, and then you start seeing that group or that position group just start going off the board because they're like, oh crap.
Yep.
But you kind of see that. It doesn't matter if it's offensive linemen or wide receivers or somebody else. It's just like once you start picking those people, kind of like Atlanta Falcons last year when they surprisingly took Penix.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden you're just like these other teams are kind of like, oh, Bo Nix went to the Broncos, and it's just like these guys that were projected to be later first-round picks are going early, top 10, top 15. It's just like panic sets in with some of these teams. So it's just a crapshoot. So you're just going to straight interior to where you don't want to move a tackle to a guard position. Those two I can see going if they're still on the board.
So,
so if they do wait till second round, hold on one second. Sorry to mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
If they do wait till second round, because I'm going to throw this out there too. I did find a couple of guys that I liked in the interior line at 50 and 52 that they could get. You got that Donovan Jackson from Ohio State and Emory Jones from LSU.
Yeah.
And those are both really good. And they're not projected to go super early, but like we said,
right.
You get into there. Once Grace Abel and that other guy you said goes off the board, maybe they go. But
the Bama guy.
Booker.
Yeah. And all I see is he's the 24th projection. That's CBS Sports right now. I'm looking at it. He's got 24th projection. So what I was going to mention is maybe you see fall back from 18 to 22 and see about picking up that Booker. And then, I don't know, throwing a third or a fourth, hopefully, for that 4-spot fall.
Yeah.
And then maybe pick up your center and both guards.
Yeah, I agree with that 100% too, because if they are determined to get an interior lineman and one of the top ones, trading down in that spot would be good.
Yeah.
They trading back.
Yeah, trading back 4 spots. Yeah, I think that would be, depending on who's offering and what you can get out of it, I think trading back a couple spots and then still going with Booker, if he's still there, could be a really good move for him.
You got these teams that are, like we've talked about for the last few weeks, that are sitting up above it, watching it come down to them, and they need wide receiver position as well, so they could be like, man, they're going to take the next top wide receiver, so they're going to want to get up in there, and heck yeah, dude, if they're like, we weren't going to really go wide receiver here, we want an interior lineman. Going back to even 24, 25 to work out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And get him more picks.
Yep. I know he's kind of been projected to go in the first round now, but if he can fall to one of their picks in the second round, I like that. Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State.
Yep.
He's been kind of going up as far as his whenever he starts doing his testing, and I've heard he's kind of blown out or done really well during his interviews too. So every mock draft that I've kind of seen, they kind of projected him in the first round, but if he starts to slip, I can see them potentially moving up, picking him too.
Right. A couple of receivers that I seen that were around that on the CBS poll that I looked at was Jack Beck from TCU. Wasn't he that really fast wide receiver?
I don't recognize the name.
Jack Beck, and then Jalen Royals out of Utah State.
Okay,
where they kind of had those guys overall, and you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
They were in like the 50 to 55.
Dude, if the Mountain West receiver goes before Nick Nash, Gage might not be.
He's gonna blow up.
Oh, yeah.
If some guy from Utah State goes before Nick Nash, oh, my God.
And who are we talking about from Utah State?
Jalen Royals.
Yeah, so who's that guy again?
Yeah. He is up on a lot of boards.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. How does the guy that leads in every single receiving category ever fall to a third-round projection?
I don't know. He could be the next Devontae Adams, man. He was a Fresno State guy.
Yeah.
Dang.
Wasn't Devontae? He was
Fresno State. He played with Derek Carr, yeah.
Oh, I thought he was Utah State as well.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'd be happy to see any Mountain West guy go that early. It just doesn't happen very often. Of course, we're going to have Ashton Genty go super early.
Yeah.
But soon enough, they're going to be Pac-12, so I don't like Boise before and after now. I really don't like them. So.
Yeah, another need they have is cornerback, too, which I don't see them going after early round cornerbacks, but a guy they could probably get in the third round because they have 2 picks, 82, and then the 92 they got from the Geno Smith trade is Denzel Burke. I could see them being in line for him.
I like Denzel
Ohio
Burke.
State guy. Yeah. We're going to mention a lot of Ohio State guys because, I mean, they just won the championship. They had a great defense. And, I mean, really, they just had a great team. So, but, yeah, another guy who I think they have another cornerback from there that's going to go higher maybe. But he's still really good. He'll be around there. They have some interior alignment in the third round. That's where you get into, like, the Jared Wilson. Guys I haven't really heard of. A guy from Georgia and a guy from Arizona. And then I've heard of Trey Hearns from Missouri.
Yeah.
And he's a wide receiver that they could get in the third round too. So it just depends on what they're prioritizing. But 5 picks in the top 3 rounds is pretty good.
It is really good, yeah.
Yeah, so here's a guy I know from college football. And I did a Western Michigan rebuild. And then I was like, man, this guy's kind of balling for me. So I looked up some highlights and stuff. Maybe, thought about talking about him here. And I think he's a third-round cornerback. It's Below Hall, Cone, something like that. But he's projected 88, and I like him.
Yeah,
he's 6'1", 190.
So kind of a bigger corner.
Yeah. So I like him for Seattle with the third-round corner.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and honestly, if they hit on these O-line picks like we're talking about, where I think they'd be wrong. I don't know. I could see a team like this picking a wide receiver, but man, if they don't go O-line in some way in the first 2 rounds, I'll be really surprised. And then if they hit, they're going to be tough, I think, still. And especially if they can find like a Dominic Clooney type of guard inside that can help move around some bodies and get this running game going. And they're in our division. They're in the Niners division, man, and I hate to see them do good, but I think they're going to be a tough team. Or if they don't hit, then I think you're right. I think if they miss, they could fall, like you said, they could stay where they're at, or even they could fall a little bit further. But
yeah, I really hate Seattle, especially after that electrician, man. Talked to him, like, hey, you can check out, or he came up to me, he's like, so what's this about you being on pod? So, I told him everything, and then he's like, oh, so who's your favorite team? And I go, the Niners. He goes, F you, I'm not going to watch anymore. So, Tom, if you do end up watching this, I hope they bust on everything. I hope they do terrible.
I hope Sam Darnold's a bust.
Yep.
I hope you get playoff Sam Darnold and not regular season Sam Darnold. So, I think that to me that's going to come down to being the biggest factor of their success is which Sam Darnold you're going to get. Are you going to get Sam Darnold that played against the Los Angeles Rams in the playoffs, or are you going to get Sam Darnold who was a regular season?
Or are they going to get Quinn Ewers at third round pick, and is he going to come ball out for him?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or be their project guy that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And then once if they don't hit on those offensive linemen, I think they're going to need a backup quarterback at some point too. So
maybe in that case they want Jackson Dart, who's more physical or stuff. If they don't hit on O line,
Darnold's not that. I mean he just doesn't have the physical ability just to move around and get out of that. He's going to get sacked a lot if they don't shore up this offensive line. I think that's their biggest issue. And honestly, it's a huge issue, and it is. It's a glaring need, but I think it's really like they're pretty solid everywhere else.
Yeah.
Obviously, if Darnold plays like he did last season.
Yeah, and they still need another receiver. I think you're not going to get that Darnold with those targets. I don't think. Like I know Gino. Well, Gino has had success with DK. I don't know really, unless you're talking all-time greats, what quarterback could go in and have super good season with those targets.
No, that's fair too. I guess yeah. So their wide receiving corps probably needs a little bit of help too. But if Kupp comes out and plays like if he balls out like he can, then they got one of the best in the league.
Yeah, so. If he stays healthy.
Yeah. So there is a lot of ifs with this team, but if they all happen, they're playoff bound. I think for sure.
Oh yeah, so. I think we'll be talking about them at pick 25, 24 if everything goes right and they have a good draft.
Yeah. Okay, this is a good episode. We appreciate you guys watching. If you want to check out our earlier episodes on teams that you're not finding on YouTube, go check us out on Podbean, anywhere you get your podcasts. That's where we first started, was on just doing a podcast. Now we're just out on YouTube. And, we want to say thank you to Rock Phillips for giving us some music that we are going to try to get into this as an intro. And we're working on that one. That'll be fun. And we appreciate that guy for giving that local guy doing some music.
Yeah, he's out of Cody, Wyoming. You can find him on Spotify, and he's working on getting on Apple Music.
Yeah, he does all instrumental.
It's all instrumental so far. He's working on getting vocal lessons. So here in a couple years, be looking for him. But
no, that's awesome. So all right, but we'll catch you next time.